Hey guys, so today we're going to be discussing fasting. But what exactly about fasting? We're going to discuss in a science-based video if fasting leads to more weight loss than, well, the opposite, a fed state. So if you decide to do like intermittent fasting is a perfect example. I think that's pretty much the example that I use throughout the video. So we're going to look at if intermittent fasting leads to greater weight loss than not doing intermittent fasting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. And the king said,
Thou shalt not disobey the primary law of thermodynamics, plebeian. Off with thine head.
Alright, enough. Let's discuss it. Does fasting lead to more weight loss? In short, no. Imagine yourself as two versions of the same person with the same goal of weight loss. Fasting version skips breakfast and even skips lunch, but eats a late afternoon snack and dinner. Feeding version doesn't skip any meals, eats a solid 5 or even 7 meals a day. Now, in this scenario, you might see more weight loss in the fasted version. But that's because we haven't equated the amount of energy deficit between conditions. So in both versions, you are in a 500 calorie deficit. Now, both conditions lose the same amount of weight. Why though? Surely you've heard you lose more fat when fasting, and that is absolutely correct, but is only true moment to moment. In the morning, when you're fasting, you're using more fat than the fed version. But once you reach the end of the day and you are eating your first meal, the fed version of yourself has already eaten 80% of their calories for the day, and the fasted version has eaten 0%. So naturally, the fasted version has a lot of catching up to do. But that catching up isn't just in calories, but also decreases fat uses, switching to carbohydrates as insulin is secreted to shuttle this mass amount of food into your cells, subsisting on, primarily, fat up to this point. Meanwhile, your fed version has much less to eat, so they begin to use far more fat than previously. It is tempting to believe fasting leads to greater weight loss or fat loss.
Surge up, which basically means that you're going to increase fat burning because growth hormone helps shuttle fat cells into the bloodstream to be burned for energy.
And it certainly is a great tool to use, but physiologically speaking, we cannot break the laws of thermodynamics, specifically the law of conservation of mass. So while fasting has its benefits, added weight loss, assuming conditions for weight loss are otherwise the same, is not one of them.
As I proclaimed, thou shalt not break the law, plebeian.
So hopefully I've explained things to your satisfaction. If I didn't, if you still have questions, of course, you can check out the article, which is linked down below and does have more details as well as another example of what I'm talking about. And most importantly, as usual, it does have my references, peer-reviewed literature, actual studies that have looked into this. You can look at my interpretation as well as the summary section, a whole bunch of stuff down there. And you can also just ask me. I'll try and get to your comment if you end up posting a question that you'd like answered. So with that said, fasting does not lead to any sort of extra weight loss or any sort of extra fat loss. Kind of interesting. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will hopefully have the pleasure of seeing you next week. Have an awesome one. See ya.